Call the meeting to order, please. And agenda item 2.1, adoption of the agenda. And there is a recommendation that Council adopts the agenda for the December 13th, 2016 regular meeting of Council as amended to include item 8.9, BC Air Grant Staff Report. Okay, so Blanchette and Torgerson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Agenda item 3.1, adoption of the previous council meeting minutes. That's November the 22nd, 2016, regular meeting of council. Recommendation is that council adopts the minutes of the November 22nd, 2016, regular meeting of council. Motion, please. Salt and Reimer. Are there any errors or omissions? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Agenda item number 7, items 1 and 2 in the reading file, UBCM gas tax agreement and human trafficking police strategies. Motion to adopt, please. Reimer and Blanchette. Is there any discussion? No discussion or comments? I'll just comment that with respect to the report that is here on this letter, I met the Associate Professor of Law at the University of British Columbia in 2010 in Edmonton. I read his book. I also bought copies of that book for our MLA, for our Member of Parliament, and for the local RCMP as well as others. I thought it was very significant because of our location, and I also bought books by Victor Mallorik. He is the senior investigative reporter for CTV W5 and gave copies of those away to the same people. And it's a much more serious problem than we realize. I also met Joy Smith, Member of Parliament for East Kildonan and St. Paul, which is in the Winnipeg area, and she has established a foundation. Also met her son, who is with the RCMP and involved in combating that. And I think probably now that we did have this person here in Valemount, I was unable to attend. Did anybody attend from council?
It wasn't good till we had a committee meeting.
Okay. I will be in touch with them and just see if there's anything that we should undertake while we're here along with the RCMP. Okay? Thank you. Motion to receive, please. Okay, that's Reimer and Blanchette. All in favor? Carried. Administrative reports, agenda item 8.1. This is for a contribution to Columbia Basin Trust Scholarship in memory of Neil Muth, President and CEO of CBT. And for Council's information, this scholarship will be available to all graduating students in the Columbia Basin. So what is Council's wish? We have a recommendation here that a contribution of blank be made from the Village of Valemount to the Neil Muth Scholarship Fund, and that this contribution be repeated each year for 5 years. Councillor Blanchette moved and seconded by Councillor Torgerson. And for discussion, what amount does Council wish to see?
I was looking for $500 for 5 years.
Okay.
Repeated for 5 years.
Okay. Is that all right with? Neil Muth was very good for the entire basin. He was a very strong advocate for all of us and very highly respected and will be greatly missed. And much too young. He was only in his 50s. But anyway. So we have a motion then that a contribution of $500 be made for 5 years. Is there any discussion? Questions? All in favor? Carried. Agenda item 8.2, Regional District of Fraser Fort George, the Recreation Centre report. We have 2 recommendations here. What is Council's wish?
put it on the floor for discussion?
Yes, yes.
I don't like to raise taxes, but having a recreation center is like having a library, it's like having a school. We need to have that venue for our youth and for our seniors and everyone in between. So I think that it's something that we have to do.
Okay, so you're recommending number 1?
Yes.
Okay, seconder, Councillor Torgerson, that the Council of the Village of Valemount consents on behalf of electors of the Village of Valemount to adoption of Canoe Valley Recreation Centre Local Service Establishment Bylaw, number 1599, Amendment Bylaw, number 3022, 2016. Is there any discussion? Yes, Councillor Reimer?
How much of our dollars go towards that right now?
I think there's a report that's in the agenda, Mr. Simmons.
Your Worship, I'm not too sure what your contribution is at the present time. Would the director from Area H have any information on that?
I don't have it on hand.
Okay.
And you're looking for the Village of Valemount taxpayer contribution to the rec center?
Yes. Yes.
I can find out within minutes if you wish.
Okay, Ms. McNee, are you?
I'd have to go and look.
You have to go and look, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you want,
Well, Your Worship, you had it, I think I quoted the previous requisition.
That's right.
For the last 5 years. And so if you took roughly the same division, if you will, you'd probably get an idea of, it's probably about this, or I would suspect it's around the same amount. I think the requisition was 200,000 something in the previous 5 years.
Yeah, I think so. That sounds
All right.
about right, 226.
So you increased it to now.
In 2000, sorry.
just a minute, one at a time, please. Okay. Okay, Councillor Torgerson.
2001, a local service area had a requisition limit of $239 and $20. 2011, 10 years later, 25% increase was approved, increasing that limit to
Yes.
$298,770.
That's right, it's all in Mr. Simmons' report here.
Yep.
Yeah. Did you, Councillor Salt?
Yes, I just have some concerns wondering why there's such substantial increases. I know, I do recall in 2011 when that 25% increase went in, it was understandable because it had been 10 years but I know that they were, at the time, discussions were that, we can't see another increase like that big again. But now we're not even 10 years, or only 5 years, and they're looking for another 25% increase. And it just kind of concerns me, makes me wonder what's happening that there's such big increases. If we were looking at just like a 2% increase over 5 years, that'd be 10%, but we're looking at 25%. And I know it's an essential service to, keeping the community healthy and everything, but it's a concern for citizens that are on fixed incomes that maybe don't use it, and their taxes are going to go up even more, and it's tough. It's one of these really tough decisions, but I have some concerns as to why are there such big increase requests.
They do not have sufficient in reserve. If it's an older building, if something happened, it would be closed down. There's no money. In municipalities, like villages, cities, towns, we can move items we can transfer budget items. Regional district, you can't. You budget $1 for this, and when that dollar is gone, that's it. You have to wait until next year. You can't transfer money from one budget item to another. Whereas in municipalities, you can. And they have been using reserves for the expenses. And there's nothing now for any kind of repair if necessary. I did suggest during the meeting that perhaps user fees should be increased somewhat, and I believe that they are looking at that. They will do that, but it won't be sufficient. Okay, Councillor Reimer?
I'm seeing that the increase wouldn't necessarily just go into a reserve fund, that the increase would be put away for future expenditures, either planned or emergency related, so it wouldn't necessarily just be a reserve fund in the event of major problem.
Okay, no, the administrator, Mr. Simmons, put a very thorough report on that. It'd be $17 per $100,000 would be the increase. Yes,
Might
Mr.
I add
Simmons.
one more comment? Is that the 25% is the maximum requisition that can be taken out each year. It's not necessarily that they have to go that far. But there's no guarantee that they're going to do a little bit this year or a little bit next year. They pretty much have to go to the taxpayers with this is what's the maximum could be. And there's no guarantee that they won't go to the maximum each year, but they won't go over it. But they could go less than that, depending on what happens. Right now, their piggy bank is kind of empty. And that's why and I think I listed in the report a number of reasons: the increased staff time, the increased costs just to operate it, and then the aging infrastructure that's within it. So,
Yeah, if you took the time, councillors, to read the full report, you would be aware of the needs.
I took the time to read the report.
Yeah.
I'm just asking for some clarification
Okay.
because the 25% increase
Yes, it
is
is.
substantial.
Of course it is.
You know, if we did that to our taxpayers with our taxes, I think we'd be hearing about it. So it's a lot.
So what is council's wish then? Yes, Councillor Reimer.
Have further comments, Your Worship? The alternative not to support the increase would mean a number of things, like perhaps having the facility closed. It would mean staff layoffs, difficulty hiring certified people, reducing operating time. Those are all things that are current budget items, which would suggest that the increase would go towards operating as current rather than reserve again. Do we have an accounting of the current expenditures?
Not in the agenda, but we could obtain one of an accounting of it.
Your Worship, I do
Yes.
have some more figures that came with the report from the regional district. The way I understand it is that the monies would go to both the increased staff time and cost to operate and into reserves, particularly for the ice plant, which I guess is the big thing. It's not all going to go to one or the other. In effect, if the requisition is not approved, the odds that it's going to close for a portion of the year are very real. And that relates purely to salaries, telephone, electricity, heat, ice plant maintenance and that sort of thing. The sort of operating costs, I guess. Then what they're hoping to do is start to load back their bank in case the ice plant craps out or the roof falls in. So it was pretty clear right from the beginning. I understood that it was going to both. It was going to operating and going to reserve.
That was built many years ago by volunteers here in Valemount, and nobody volunteers like that anymore, and so this is why it's becoming a burden to the taxpayer. So what is, yes, Councillor Salt.
I do know that there were a lot of upset people last summer when hours had been really reduced, people that were wanting to use the facility for the exercise room and everything. So I do know that there were a lot of upset people about that. So I don't want to lose it. It just, I think I'd like to, like Councillor Reimer, know a little more about the financial statements and that to see why there's such
That could be obtained, Councillor
need.
Salt, from the regional district staff, and I should like to see, my thought is that user fees be increased a bit as well. Okay, Councillor, or Mr. Simmons.
The other guy, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, first off, I think a decision has to be reached tonight.
Yes.
I can certainly arrange momentarily to get the information you require. I have a regional district person on standby. But the regional board has to make their final decision on Thursday.
Yes.
And because of their applications. So I will, well, you guys carry on for a minute. I will go
Okay.
get this other information for you. And if it's okay, I can bring it back and we can just table the motion for the present time and bring it back. Would that be okay?
All right, yes, we're just going to table this until Mr. Simmons brings back further information. For the information of council, the regional district budget has to be adopted in March. Municipalities is May, but regional district is March. And the decision for the Canoe Robson services is finalized at the February meeting. We are presented with the budget in January, and in February, the final decision is made, and in March, the budget is adopted. So we'll table this until he returns. We'll move on to agenda item 8.3. Application for variance to subdivision servicing bylaw, DVP 06-16. There's a recommendation here. What is council's wish? Okay, Councillor Salt.
That the application by 107-2223 BC Limited to vary sections 2.02, 2.06, and 2.08 of the Valemount Subdivision and Development Servicing Bylaw be given initial approval, and that council directs staff to notify the public of their intention to consider final approval of the variance application at the January 10, 2017 regular meeting of council.
Okay, seconder, please. Councillor Reimer. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Agenda item 8.4, Centennial Park, response to the letter from Ms. Thorne. We have recommendations here that a letter be sent to Ms. Thorne responding to her request for consideration, noting the responses from the Public Works Committee. If council wishes, it would be in order that staff be directed to investigate costs and feasibility of a splash park on the old tennis courts at Centennial Park. And 3, that staff be directed to investigate the costs and feasibility of developing a community garden in conjunction with the Valemount High School on village-owned property behind the school. What is council's wish? Councillor Salt? You're moving that both recommendations be adopted. Is there a seconder? Okay, Councillor Torgerson. Any discussion? Councillor Blanchette.
A couple of years ago, the village, this high school had embarked on trying to do a public gardens, and it had absolutely no response. So I'm just wondering, I know staff is busy, I know that there's a lot of wants and asks in town, but perhaps the people that want these things could put together their own committee, do as much legwork and as homework as possible, and then bring that forward to council and to staff.
Okay. That can be amended. Agenda item 3, that can be amended where it says that staff be directed to investigate the costs and feasibility, to staff be directed to contact the proponent and ask them to investigate the costs and feasibility of developing a community garden. Are you making that
Yes.
a motion for that amendment? Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Salt. Okay, so then we have a motion on the floor that recommendations 1 and 2 be followed, and that 3 be amended to read that staff be directed to refer to the proponent to direct the proponent to investigate the costs and feasibility of developing the community garden in conjunction with the Valemount High School on village-owned property behind the school. Does that meet council's approval? Yes?
Yeah, sure. I just have another comment. So you didn't want that to include the splash park because there had been a group before that had kind of tried to do it, and so now because somebody else had made an effort, you're willing to let staff look into it further as far as a splash park?
I mean, ideally, it would be great if whoever wanted these things could put a committee together and do it. But but I also realize that some of it staff needs to find out through insurance and costs and things like that, working with Public Works.
Do you want to refer this to the Public Works Committee? Or the Public Works has already... They've already considered this? Okay. Councillor Reimer.
Your Worship, we did consider it a Public Works Committee meeting, and you'll note from the notes from that committee that the idea of a splash park, we significantly reduced that idea. And if it's not kept simple, it really is not going to be a feasible thing. And I wouldn't even want to consider wasting staff's time in order to deal with that. But there may be a simplified version that might work, which could be brought back. Either the proponent could again look at that idea, or the staff could. But and in terms of the development of the garden, that was discussed and brought back.
Okay. I also, with respect to the splash park, and I'm looking right here to the administrative report in Public Works, does there have to be someone present at all times to ensure public safety in a splash park? Yes, Councillor.
Not the way this one would be.
Not the way this one would be, okay.
No.
Thank you. All right, does council wish to discuss this any further, or are you ready to? Vote on the motion as amended. Okay, all in favor? Carried. You have the amended motion. Thank you. All right, we'll go back to the agenda item with respect to the Canoe Valley Recreation. Okay, and Mr. Simmons, the floor is yours.
Okay. Your Worship and Council, basically, what the regional district notes is that part of the requisition is required for operating, and they're basing it on 114% increase in salaries with staffing levels to provide more services in the extended hours of operation that it currently enjoys. 64% increase in telephone costs, installation of a fax line and mobile phones for some of the staff. I guess that's a lot of a safety issue. Excuse me. 31% increase in utilities such as heating, electricity, and water sewer fees. 138% increase in property insurance to accommodate sufficient insurance to building and equipment, and I would imagine that's probably low. 225% increase in janitorial costs. With more programs and more use of the facility, there are more costs to keep the areas clean. And 190% increase in staff training to meet the safety authority's mandatory requirement for employee certification. And of course, whenever you're dealing with ammonia and ice plants and stuff like that, or Zambonis, your whole training regime goes up. So basically, they would be looking at an approximately 50% of the requisition going into operating and 50% into reserve in the next 5 years. What they've done, much like the village, whenever they apply for grants, they have to pony up their share. And that's where it comes out of, is those reserves, as well as potentially any major repairs to some of the bigger infrastructure. I hope that works for you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any further questions, council? All right, what is council's wish then? Councillor Torgerson?
Your Worship, please. Was there any research done into the potential of increasing user fees to offset any of this?
Your Worship, I did ask them that, and they had done some, and the committee, I understand, had done some, but the amount to raise was very minimal. They might have made $3,000 or $4,000 a year
Difference.
in terms of difference in increase in user fees. So.
Because I can go skating there on a Wednesday from 12 till 3 for $3. Skating by myself. You don't get that anywhere. We've got some of the lowest ice time fees, even for tournaments. Adult hockey, minor hockey. I concur for the minor hockey, but $84 for men's hockey per hour is the cheapest I've ever played.
Yeah. Okay.
Your Worship, we actually played around with doubling every fee.
Yeah, okay.
And it still made such little money, and we felt that between me and the regional district's discussion that it was more detrimental in terms of turning people away than it would be in the amount of money made. We talked about actually, okay, just take a little bit this year and make a bit more next year and a bit more next year, but it still came out to, by the time you actually do a bit of administration on it, you eat up some of the monies that you raise. So it wasn't, her worship had mentioned that, and so we definitely looked into it, but it wasn't the type of money they need. They can make a few bucks, but that's about it.
Any further questions of Councillor Reimer?
It is the only facility that gets extensive use in the community, so reluctantly I will approve the recommendation.
Seconder? Councillor Stott. Okay. So moved by Councillor Reimer and seconded by Councillor Salt that the village approve the request. And we have the recommendation that the Council of the Village of Valemount consents on behalf of the Village of Valemount or the electors of the village to adoption of Canoe Valley Recreation Centre Local Service Establishment Bylaw number 1599, Amendment Bylaw number 3022, 2016. Is there any further discussion or questions? Council's ready for the question. All in favor? Opposed? Okay. Do you want your opposition
Recorded? Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. It passes. Okay. Agenda item 8.5, Affordable Housing Committee appointments. We have recommendation that the following people be appointed, and on behalf of the Village of Valemount, Councillor Reimer. And so, yes?
But I wish to recuse myself.
Okay.
I have a direct conflict.
Oh, okay. So let it be noted that Councillor Torgerson has recused himself. Okay. Okay, I'll take a motion then for
Sorry, I
the
didn't
appointments.
hear which councillor?
Councillor Reimer.
Oh, okay.
Okay. We looked at the list here, and Councillor, I noticed that particularly that there was, we needed someone with a business background to balance out the skills of the rest. Okay, so could I have a motion, please, to appoint Councillor Salt and Councillor Blanchette? All in favour? Carried. And Ms. McNeil, if you would like to invite Councillor Torgerson back. Agenda item 8.6, BC Stop of Interest signs. Recommendation that Council approves the locations for the stops of interest signs, and that Council directs Tourism Valemount to submit an application for stops of interest signs to the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure on behalf of the Village of Valemount. Could I have a motion, Councillor Blanchette and Councillor Torgerson? Is there any discussion? I would hope that I see the recommendation is for Tijon to have something there, that there would be, that it could be somehow connected to the Trans-Canada Yellowhead Highway Association, because the Yellowhead, that there was a member of the, he was from Ontario, I believe, Pierre Bostonnet. He was from the Iroquois Nation, but he had blonde hair. So that's how Tete Jean came, okay? He was French as well, and so that's the Yellowhead, and the Yellowhead Highway got named that because of Pierre Bostonnet, who was a fur trader. And I would hope that that would be included somewhere in the information, because I think that's very interesting, because the Yellowhead goes from Winnipeg all the way to Queen Charlotte's. That's at Queen Charlotte's, yeah. Okay. And Councillor Torgerson, you're on the tourism committee. Take that to them.
I will, so.
Good, thank you.
It was brought up in discussion.
Pierre Bostonnet? Okay, good. Okay. So recommendations 1 and 2, could I have a motion, please? Blanchette and Salt, and is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. 8.7, Valemount Tourism Appointments. And motion, please, to that council appoints the following individuals to Tourism Valemount Committee. Blanchette and Torgerson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Agenda item 8.8, Ministry of Energy Mines. With respect to the Borealis geothermal permit request, we have a recommendation that council respond to the ministry, and that the Village of Valemount has no concerns about the issuance of a permit under the Geothermal Resources Act, adjacent to an existing geothermal permit in the Cedarside area south of Valemount. The Village of Valemount requests that the permit holder engage with private property owners prior to any activity on private property. And that council appends the notes from the Direct Heat Use Committee to the formal response. Could I have a motion for that, please? Kate Torgerson and Salt. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Agenda item 8.9, BC Air Grant Staff Report. And do we just need a motion to receive that?
Sure.
Okay. Does council have a copy of it? Everyone has a copy, okay. And you've read it, or do you want a moment? Okay. What is council's wish? Yes, Councillor Blanchette?
That we approve staff to apply, for the BC Air Access Program for the purpose of line painting and tree removal at the Valemount Airport.
Seconder, please. Councillor Torgerson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Agenda item 9.1. And that's the Village of Valemount Cemetery Amendment Bylaw number 760-2016. Recommendation that the report be received for information and that council approves final reading and adoption of Village of Valemount Cemetery Amendment Bylaw number 760-2016. Councillor Reimer and Councillor Salt. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Agenda item 9.2, Village of Valemount Fees and Charges Amendment Bylaw. Recommendation that council approves final reading and adoption of Village of Valemount Fees and Charges Amendment Bylaw number 762-2016. Blanchette and Salt. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. 9.3, Village of Valemount Council Remuneration Bylaw number 763-2016. That council approves final reading and adoption. Motion, please. Kate, Torgerson, and Reimer. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Agenda item 9.4, Village of Valemount Municipal and Regional District Tax Levy Bylaw number 766-2016. We have a recommendation that council approves first reading of the Village of Valemount Municipal and Regional District Tax Levy Bylaw number 716. Kate, Blanchette, Salt, all in favor? Carried. Now we have council reports. Councillor Blanchette.
On the 24th of November, I went to the Business Retention Workshop run by the Minister of Jobs and Tourism. It was fantastic. There was a huge crowd from all walks of life in Valemount and in McBride. It was very, very interesting. I learned a lot. I did a lot of networking, which I'm not usually very good at. But it was a really good day.
I think that's a follow-up to the one that was held a few months earlier in McBride, wasn't it? Yes. And Blanchette, and now we go to Reimer.
Public Works Committee meeting Historical Society meeting and Community Forest meeting yesterday.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Salt?
Nothing to report.
Okay, Councillor Torgerson?
I had a Public Works Committee meeting. I also joined Councillor Blanchette at the thank you, Business Retention and Expansion Workshop. I attended a asset management, connecting asset management to land use webinar. And I had a community, oh no, I missed that one yesterday. I had a direct heat use committee meeting, Valemount tourism meeting. Getting to the next week. I had a another direct heat use committee meeting, which included a telecommunication or teleconference with Ministry of Energy and Mines and BC Venture Capital. And I'm here before you now.
Okay, thank you. Well, I attended the CEO forum, which was under the Local Government Learning Academy, and it's the first one that I have attended. I regret now that I haven't attended the CEO forums in the past. The staff showed it to me, and I really thought that the first week of December was a bad time to hold it, and I didn't want to go. And then I got a personal invitation from Dr. Gordon McIntosh, Royal Roads University, inviting me to attend. There will be a compilation of the results and information in January, and I'll distribute it to council at that time. And there were mayors from all over the province, as well as regional district chairs. That's all that were invited. And it was a real learning experience. And I also attended the Christmas tree lighting at Centennial Park. It was a very exciting time. It was cold, it was windy, but there must have been at least 75 people, I would say. And it was very exciting to see the Christmas tree lit, to see the boards with different themes. There was one with the stars that was in memory of beloved family members. The Valemount Fire Department brought Santa Claus. There was hot chocolate served, and there were children singing Christmas songs. And then there were carolers as well, and then they went to the businesses on 5th Avenue. And Mr. Peters is here, and I want to commend him and his partner, Marion Plummer, for all of the effort that went into it, as well as all their other helpers, understand the high school students. It was a real fun and exciting community event. And I want to congratulate you, Mr. Peters, and hope that you will go to the same effort next year. It was a real community event, and to see all those children there, and to see the excitement when Santa Claus came, because there were a lot of little ones as well. And I would recommend to council that you consider attending next year. It was fun. Okay. I'm going to take this moment here to welcome Director Danielle Allen, Regional District Director, Area H. I should have done this at the beginning of the meeting, but better late than never. And it is so very, very cold outside, and yet you stayed for our council meeting, and I want to thank you for that. Okay. Okay, that's, yes, Councillor.
I haven't finished my report.
Pardon?
I haven't finished my report.
Oh, I thought you did. Okay.
I also had attended the tree service. I won't go into the details as you did, but it was wonderful. And on the 5th, I also had a child and youth mental health meeting, and I hope everybody went to the free skate that they had this weekend. The money went to the food bank.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
I thought you were finished.
No, I should have yelled out.
Okay. All right. So a motion, please, that they be received. Salt and Torgerson, all in favor? Carried. Okay, number 11 on the agenda, appointments to standing and select committees. The 2016-17 appointments of council members to standing and select committees as follows, and I should like to have a motion, please, that council approves the appointments. Torgerson and Blanchette. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Number 13.1.
12. 12 first.
Oh, 12. Okay, sorry, appointments to external boards, committees, and agencies. I should like a motion to, for the members of council that are appointed to external boards, committees, and agencies to represent the Village of Valemount Council. I should like for a motion, please, to just approve it. Blanchette and Torgerson. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. And 13, appointment of deputy mayors. 13.1, that council approves the deputy mayor schedule listed above for the months of December 2016 through November 2017. Motion, please. Blanchette and Torgerson. All in favor? Carried. And number 14, council meeting schedule, proposed regular council meeting schedule for the period of January 10, 2017 through December 12, 2017. Motion, please. Blanchette and Salt. All in favor? Carried. All right, agenda item 16.1, outstanding council resolutions. Recommendation that council accepts the list of outstanding previous council resolutions. Torgerson and Salt. Any discussion? Hearing none. Did you have something? No? Okay, all in favor? Carried. Okay, we note the calendar of events. 18.1, public comments on items considered by council as part of the approved agenda. Okay, any public comment? Okay. 20.1, sorry, no. There is no.
That should be a nil.
That should be a nil? Okay. All right. So then we adjourn. Okay. Salt and Torgerson, and it's adjourned.
Public comment, but I wish you all a Merry Christmas.
You too, Natalie.